God, it looks so much better. I look better as a human being. I'm so happy. How we doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I love your backdrop. It's different from the last time I talked to you.
Yeah.
I had like all business Sue last time.
Yeah, that was.
You were like, who the hell am I giving money to? Oh, shit.
No, that's not what it is. I like to see, I have to put a face. Like I can't just send this stuff out in cyberspace. I
I
can't.
agree with you, Sue. That's why you're Sue. That's what I liked about you. Okay, so welcome to the podcast. We're excited to
Thank,
have you.
thank you.
Tell us your story.
So, my profession, did I tell you I'm a retired lieutenant colonel?
No, I
I
did not
spent
know
21
that.
years on active duty in the Army.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
that's
I spent
impressive,
21 years.
Sue. Okay, so you're like a military kingpin.
I guess so. Yeah. So yeah, I spent 21 years on active duty, retired lieutenant colonel, did all sorts of cool stuff, joined active duty in 86.
What made you
So
decide to do that?
my dad was in the National Guard. So I kind of had this, dad thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to go back home after college. I did not want to go back home after college. There's just a reason for me to leave and
Yeah.
go do stuff. And so off I went. Just thought I was going for a 4-year assignment and then going to come back home. And one thing led to another. And yeah, I got to do a lot of cool stuff on active duty.
Are you allowed to talk about it? Like, what was the coolest thing?
So, probably the coolest thing for this podcast is I ended up being the first female prison warden for the DoD prison over in Heidelberg, Germany in 2001. So, yeah, first prison warden over there. Jimmy likes to think like that's so cool. My mom used to be a prison warden.
I think that's very cool. What was it like?
By that time in my career, I was very good at the good cop, bad cop,
Okay.
so I got to be like, the good person
Yeah.
and the strongest parts of my career is when I had that really strong NCO right next to me being
Yeah.
the bad cop.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so yeah.
Are you good at shooting a gun?
No. It's been
But
many,
better
many,
than
many
most,
years.
I would say.
Better than most. Definitely, definitely, definitely better than most.
Okay,
Yeah.
so your military career, first warden, you're living abroad, you're running a prison as a woman, playing
Yes.
good cop, bad cop. I actually feel like that's probably the ideal preparation for where you are now. But so flash forward, you finish active duty, and then what happens?
So then I go work at a local university, working with football student athletes. So I'm an academic advisor for 10 years. I have a third of the football team, just, overseeing their academics, setting them up for success. Very non-traditional in that, work study hall 2 nights a week, 8 to 10 o'clock at night, Saturdays, football games, recruiting. So how that all lines up to where I'm at right now. I don't know what this whole traditional world 9 to 5, take an hour for lunch break. Like I don't know what all that means. So both those previous jobs have positioned me perfect for this craziness that's
For this
going on
crazy
right
world
now.
that you live in. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
then I'll flash forward to people who are listening to this. So we create the Barstool Fund. Dave Portnoy is out there like slinging bullets on the internet as he does. And everyone is like, you got to reach out to Mr. Beast. You got to reach out to Mr. Beast. You got to tweet Mr. Beast. And Dave's like, who's Mr. Beast? And everyone's like, everybody knows who Mr. Beast is. And so I want you to talk about Jimmy / Mr. Beast, who I think is one of the most captivating, philanthropic, inspiring, weird, like extreme people out there. I want to hear the whole story, but long story short, and before Sue gets into it, so Sue reaches out and is like, before we give the the large, substantial donation to this fund, I would like to talk to someone. So I was like, well, there's not many other people to talk to besides me. Sue, why don't you and I just get on the phone? So, and I think you had to email like 3 times. I think you had to email a couple times to be like, could someone is there a human on the other line?
Please accept my money. Can somebody please accept my money? Okay, Erika, I'm going to interrupt you here. You don't understand. Like when Jimmy says go, like it's go. Yeah. Like it's not 24 hours later.
Yeah, it's now.
It's not when it's convenient for you, Mom.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm panicking. Like I gotta
go. Yeah. My commanding officer wants this done now.
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short, Sue and I get connected. We get on the phone together. We get on Zoom together, and I like fall in love with you, Sue. I think your energy is awesome. And then I'm like, oh, this must just be MrBeast's business manager, whatever. I don't know. Like, and here's the fund, and here's what we're doing, and then you're like, oh, I'm the mom. Like, this is my kid. I'm the mom. And then I was like, oh, I'm obsessed with you. So, so tell us what it's like to have a phenom as a son like that, and to be part of the world, and like, it's got to have been wild.
Yeah, and it's crazy. It's been a wild trip. I mean, it's been an absolutely wild trip. He hired his first people in November of 2017. So like we're barely over 3 years old. And it's been a crazy ride ever since. I think, the challenges for me are actually stopping to enjoy it, because it's so funny. They launched Beast Burger, and it's like, oh yeah, great. Been working on it for so long, glad the public knows about it. I'm already on project 2.
Yeah, you're like Beast Burger. That was like a year ago.
No, I mean, I love it. You know what I mean? But it's like, I'm always, so that's a huge challenge.
Yeah.
Stopping to actually be in the moment, enjoy the milestone, when the public enjoys the milestone, and that kind of stuff is challenging.
Yep.
But it's also challenging doing all this with a mom perspective. A mom's perspective is something that nobody else on the team has, and so I always have to remind people, like, yeah, that's really good. Glad you understand. But here's where my mom got is.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
When you do your up and downs as a mom, when your kids are hurting, when your kids are doing well, it just adds a definitely different dynamic for me.
Yeah, I understand that. I actually think you're probably, I think Mrs. Portnoy, Dave's mom and dad were very actively involved when Dave was creating Barstool. And you just have a different perspective. I also think you have a different level of protection of...
Absolutely.
Your interest is so pure, and it's forever, and it has been forever. Like you created this thing that I think I love that you're part of his squad. I actually think that makes me love Jimmy that much more. I think that's really special. But tell me, like, going back to like the video game part, like, every parent I know is like, oh my God, my kid will not get his head or her head out of the iPad, off the computer. Like, how did you deal with that? Like, you seem very active.
Yeah, I want to interrupt you, and I love that, because this is what I'm not sure is known about Jimmy. Jimmy was raised playing sports. Jimmy was raised going to school. Jimmy graduated from high school, right? And so Jimmy, led our kind of normal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But oh no, Jimmy played sports, basketball, baseball, all the way through high school, all the way through his senior year. Played baseball like every summer going on. And so, YouTube like kind of filled a work void, right?
Yep.
So he never has had a traditional job.
Yep.
But no, I really want his story to be known that he did not grow up in
a dark room. Yeah, yeah.
He did not. I really want that known. Like,
that's
he
good.
Did not.
Yeah,
and,
I love that.
And I think those sports aspects, the team building,
yep.
And all those things that come along with it have paid huge dividends now.
Yep. I also think that's an important thing, I think, for parents now anyways, is that people are so obsessed. parenting has become such a luxury, I think, where people are just so obsessed with their kids being a thing. Like the best thing, a hockey player, a YouTuber, or whatever, it's just like the whole system is oriented to them being that thing. And I think the thing that's really cool about the way you describe Jimmy is like, hey, he was like a normal kid. You know what I mean? He played this sport. He did that sport. He did whatever in the community. You had time as a family. He just, he found his passion. But that you don't have to be training for that thing from the jump, No,
his gift, what he has is a gift, and, it developed over time, for sure. But no, it wasn't molded and mentored because like
you had him on that path. Yeah. Totally. I know what I'm going to do with this kid. I'm going to shove him in front of YouTube.
That level of his, just his dedication to the platform, and his dedication to the analytics, and his dedication to learn what he has learned, and his dedication to trial and error and failure, and picks that back up again. I mean, those are innate things that, are just part of who he is.
Yeah, and how you raised him, I think. So I read that he got to college, and I think like 2 weeks, if the story is true, and you can tell me if it's not, that 2 weeks into college, he's like, you know what? Like, I'd rather be on YouTube or be poor the rest of my, like, I want to be, this is where I want to be. Like, is that true? And then B, like, how did you deal with that? How did you deal with that?
Okay. So first off, I'm a first generation college person. Okay. Right? So like, I thought, like, I'm pretty in a box in my thinking, right? I don't have that creative side that he has. So it was very, very natural for me to say, okay, you go to college. And so, his older brother had gone off to college, and so Jimmy was next in line. And so that's just where my mindset was. I just thought you did that was what you're supposed to do. But I knew better coming out of that senior year and that summer, like that was going to be really crazy if I thought I was going to invest a lot of money. So we settled on community college, right? We settled on community college, mile and a half down the road. You're still working out of the bonus from in my house, right? That's a good compromise. So then one day I just decide, and I go, okay, you drop out of college, you got to leave my house. Oh, what? Why did I say that? But I did. So it's true. I think he went to school for 2 weeks, and then I think he pretended to go to school for 2 weeks. Remember, I'm working academics for the football team.
Yeah, 100%. You're like, I know.
So I'm going like, okay, shouldn't I be checking in Blackboard for this? And don't you have an assignment due on Sunday night for this? And, and I'm not really getting some good solid answers out of this. So finally he was just tired of tap dancing. And he goes, yeah, I dropped out, haven't been. I'm like, okay, then you have to leave my house. It was so sad. I tell you, it was the saddest thing I ever did. And my husband, I'm like, do I really need to, can I take it back? Can I pretend I didn't say it? But I just knew that, you got to go with what you say. But I do want the record to state, right?
Yes, Sue.
He always paid his rent, his utilities, his car, everything. So, the timing of it, he was definitely financially prepared to do this.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you pushed him to a place where he had to be accountable for the decision.
But the other part of the story is 4 months later, when he had his breakout, count to 100,000, that is a true story. I mean, he was like in a do or die. I mean, he
Tell
knows
that
January
story.
the platform was closed low.
Tell the story, Sue. To these people.
So when you kind of look at the analytics of YouTube, January at that time, was a slow month, right? Just come off of fourth quarter. Everybody's been really kind of doing a lot of great things on the platform. January's kind of a slow month. January in 2017, where he's been out on his own for 4 months, right? Mom just kicked him out. He's on his own. And he knew he was kind of in one of these do or die situations. And that's when he decided to count to 100,000, which is really his first breakout video.
Yeah.
Got picked up by a TV channel, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Like, who's this crazy person? But yeah, so that was his kind of,
That was his moment.
I gotta do something because I've been on my own for 4 months now, and it's time to do.
And how long did it take for you to? So first of all, was he mad that you kicked him out of the house?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, kicked out of the house, we're still interacting every day.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been together this entire
Yeah.
time. So, like, instead of bringing the chicken and rice upstairs, it was just bringing
it next door. Yeah, yeah.
It's probably more of an inconvenience for me than it was for him.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. And then how long did it take for you to get involved in the business?
So right about that time, he really proudly showed me a paycheck, and I was like, "Darn, that's like remember
that's a lot of money."
Yeah, like I'm working 2 nights a week.
Yeah.
I'm working weekends. I mean, I have a military retirement check, so
Yeah.
I'm fine, right? I'm like, wait a minute, I don't think I feel like doing this anymore.
Yeah.
The original plan was me just to do what I always wanted to do, was retire after I got off active duty. So that was really the original plan, was really, I'll just retire.
How's that going for you, Sue?
Yeah. And then that lasted all of about a very short period of time. It's like, Mom, will you do this? And Mom, will you do that? Mom, will you do this? And he decided that his time was better spent being creative, doing him. And he obviously, trusted me to do the other stuff. And it just fell into place.
It works.
Fell into place.
Yeah, it works. How would you describe MrBeast?
MrBeast is, he's genuine. What you all see, in the news and in the videos, it's who he is. He loves to give away. He loves the philanthropy side of what it is he does. I mean, that is cornerstone to who he is, genuinely. He loves to change people's lives, make their day. Honestly, what you see is really who he is.
And do you think, where does he go from here?
Oh my gosh. Like ask me that question at the end of 2021 and you'd know that like there are no boundaries. Like he's going all over the place. Always with the philanthropy, always in the general good kind of perspective, having a good time. The channel financially supports the philanthropy. It's all intricately tied together. And as you see, as we launch all this stuff throughout 2021, that'll continue to all be interwoven together.
Yeah, I love that.
I think the charity launch is going to be relatively soon.
Yeah.
Launching our Beast Philanthropy. We've been talking about it. There's a lot of work behind getting this ready.
Yeah.
But we're leaning forward, and so that'll be a huge. That'll be a huge launch.
That's going to be great.
Next couple of months. Yeah, it's going to be really.
That's going to be really great. The people who worked on the MrBeast burger, I had a call with them last week, and they were like pitching me on the MrBeast burger. It's so great, blah blah. And I was like, oh, I know his mother. I will be referencing this thing myself. The guy was like, okay. Okay, so Sue, what's your advice so actually I have two questions for you, Sue. How do you see the internet? Like, what do you see in the internet? I mean, he's similar to Barstool Sports. Like, we're such an internet phenomenon, and it's funny, our timing is quite similar, where Barstool really exploded around 2016, 2017 to now, and Jimmy's had that same explosion. But how do you have such a front row seat to a world that is so fast and crazy and creative, but also very data driven? Like, how do you see the internet?
I don't really think, I'm probably not really good at answering that question, because that's Jimmy's side.
That's Jimmy's side.
Analytics. Yep. Jimmy's got that side. I've got the back side of the business.
Okay, the normal real world, like this thing, the things have to go into the boxes and the places. Yep.
Exactly. And so it would really not do Jimmy any justice if I was to start
You're like, Jimmy, I got a great video idea.
Yeah. Like, so he knows where everything's going. I do know that, we'll be trendsetters and we'll be, on the front row seats, as you all say. And so we will definitely be, involved in a lot of aspects as it grows.
And what's your advice to either the mom of a future Jimmy or the future Jimmys?
Um, you know, my advice is, listen and just be there. Where I got tangled up wrong with Jimmy in a lot of aspects is, I referenced my management background, right? So, like, I have a lot of answers, I think, to a lot of, business kind of questions and situations. And that's not what he needed. Like, he just needed me to be his mom.
Yeah.
Like, and so many times I blew it.
Yeah.
Because I opened my mouth instead of just listening. And, if you ask Jimmy, I think, what's the most important role that I carry is being his mom, and just the basics, just listen, and just be there for them as they go up and down. The other thing I would recommend is, don't read the comments. I read the articles, like that's how I know what's going on. Like, I read the Twitter, that's how I know what's going on. There's a couple of his peers that I read every day, so I know what's going on, like on the platform, generally speaking. But like, I don't read comments.
Yeah, totally.
Like, I can't do that anymore. People have their opinions, and that's great. But just like, be careful of that.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I had the same thing. I remember Dave and I were in a really bad place with our investors, and we had to fly out to California on a Sunday, and it would have been more convenient for me to take like the later flight and to like I was someplace. Dave and I weren't in the same place, and I just remember thinking that, like, the best thing, I didn't have the answers on how we should go forward. I didn't have the answers on, like, what we were going to get out of this meeting, but I felt like the best thing I could do would be just be there. And I think that there is something, if you're supporting someone, especially someone who is so out there and is so on the frontier, like, I think you have to have a special appreciation of sometimes just being quiet and sitting next to them and being ready to react or respond to whatever is happening is the single best thing you can do. I sometimes feel badly about myself if I don't have the answer, which is like, sometimes I think I have the answer, sometimes I totally don't have the answer, sometimes we have the same answer. But I agree with you. It's kind of like just being there for someone can really make the difference. And then I agree with you. I mean, who gives a shit what the comments say? Like, the comments are like, unless you're really thick-skinned and you're in it for humor, if you're going for it for humor, like, I love when I get like called a C word and like get the nasty comments, because then it's like, if you push back, if I'm in a mood to push back on it, then it becomes fun because people usually cave. But I agree with you, like, forward, like, look ahead, keep your eyes on your stuff.
Exactly.
I love that. I think your background has made you so perfect. Like, you seem so practical.
Thank you.
Are you practical? Like, would you put practical in like the top 5 words you would describe yourself?
I think so. Because like I said, I'm a little picture person. You know what I mean? I work, and that's why the military was great for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was the rules, the procedures, discipline. I followed right along. It was perfect box for me. I have a lot of trouble, like Jimmy, big, conceptual, out there, pushing boundaries, trendsetters. Like, sometimes it takes me a while to catch up with him.
Yep.
Like, sometimes I just don't.
Yep.
So I think practical would be good. Yep, absolutely.
I also think that you need a little box person with a big conceptual people. Like, that if you don't have those two things together, nothing actually ever gets done. And it's really, sometimes it's like, oh, the big conceptual is so much more valuable than the little box. And I'm like, I'm not sure. I actually think that's what makes, I think that you enable his magic in a lot of ways, because you take his worry off of things he's probably not very good at.
Oh, absolutely. He will tell you in a heartbeat. It's so funny. Like when we had a lawyer a couple of months ago, and due diligence, the lawyer's working for Jimmy, right? I'm just a representative, right?
Yeah.
So he has to hear Jimmy's voice, and Jimmy gets on the phone for all of 1 minute. Yep, I have no idea what she's doing, but she just like whatever she wants,
Totally.
go for it. And like,
Totally. Yeah. Just let her do it.
they'll let her do it. But that's exactly what he says. Like,
Yeah.
he goes, does creative, he does what he does, and then I know what I need to do on the backside to support him, to protect his assets, and and do due diligence on this side. No, absolutely, it's a very, very great balance of both of us.
This was great, Sue. I'm so grateful I met you. I think that he's so lucky to have you, and I think that you shouldn't. You are at a catbird seat. Like, you sit on one of the most electric, interesting brands on the internet, and you're like making it all happen. Like, there are thousands, if not tens of thousands of college kids who want to be you. So I think that's just so cool, and it's so great to meet you.
Thank you, thank you. I'm thrilled meeting you too. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, I'll be in touch on the burger.